All right, you legends. Well, we're headed up. We're definitely doing the forest. We don't know what the rest of them are doing, but we'll stop by and see if anybody's there. If not, we'll just get some clips of our ride. Yeah. So we just wanted to do this little preview prologue to let you guys know we're on the road today. It's nice. It's like the low 70s right now. Nice breeze. It's comfortable, but we want to get back early because there's going to be another scorcher in our area.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton, rolled into the woodlands. We picked up Team RR. It's kind of a small group. We headed out on Honea-Egypt Road. We went through the Grand Lake Estates, all the way out to Keenan-Cut-off, and then we took 149 Springbranch Road. Nice pacing out there. I think you will love the clips that we got for you. When we got to Dobbins, we ended the filming. Some of the guys stopped at a store in Dobbins. We continued, Paul, myself, and Michael continued out into the forest. We took 149 and then came down on Bethel Road, back via 1097 to 149, stopped at Taco Refuel, and backtracked on Springbranch Road. It ended up being a lot longer ride than we had originally envisioned because of the route that we took. And it was just a very, very muggy day. We'd had a little bit of rain in the area, nothing substantial, but it was just enough to kind of make it steamy. So the entire day was about regulating temperature and staying hydrated. But I think you would love the clips we got for you.
Clear.
We just hit the open road. The FM 2978, Honea-Egypt Road. We're going to take Honea-Egypt Community Road. I checked my mirror after that car went by. Heard Paul say clear to confirm. We're going to be turning left on Honea-Egypt Community Road. This section of this road is called Honea-Egypt Road. Then when you turn left, called Honea-Egypt Community Road. You go straight, it's called Sendera, and becomes Fishcreek thoroughfare further down. So we're going to turn left here because we're going through Grand Lake. We want to go do Springbranch Road. It's a more scenic route. You know, Mike Barrera really loves that's Mike S5 right there. We have a lot of mics, including now we got Mike Barrera from San Diego. We have a lot of mics in the group. So Mike S5, he rides an S5, so he uses that as his GroupMe avatar name. So we got the protected turn here, and we're just kind of rolling out. We have a few riders that have been off the bike. Jonathan he's just recovering from illness. And then I believe Mike S5 in the yellow just got back from Japan, and that jet lag really hits you. So he's not going to stay with us further than the neighborhood. I think he's going to turn back. And so with all that in mind, I keep the pace nice and steady and calm. I'm looking in my mirror to make sure everybody gets on before we really start rolling. But I plan to just sit there for a good stretch, because we're doing at least 6 hours, Paul and I, today. And the great thing was we got company. Mike Barrera joined us, and it was great having him along for the section through the forest, because the rest of the guys, I think they just came back after the first stop. So I'm sitting up there just kind of keeping it around 20 miles an hour. I'm not doing it by speed, just effort. I mean, zone 2 for the most part. It's very muggy. Even though it says 21C, it feels like, I would say, probably 27. It's steamy because we've had some thunder showers. Nothing measurable in different parts of town. And you can feel the moisture in the air. It's just very thick. That's why you saw in the prologue, I had my jersey zipped down. It's not a 21C crispy morning. It's warm. I'm keeping my cadence 90 plus. It's early in the ride, kind of waking up your legs. But you got to find whatever your cruising cadence is. You find that through training, what you're more predisposed to. Everybody has a natural cadence they prefer. You can improve it by choice if you want to. But you got to find what works for you, what's most efficient for you. So on roads like these that are very narrow, even though you can ride two abreast, it's best to do single file. I mean, if the group is very large, then maybe two abreast, you probably end up with a shorter line. But for the most part, you want to go single file to make it easier for drivers to see around you and make their passing decisions. And try not to be spread out all over the road inconsiderably. You know, you've got to be aware that other people are using the road, so you don't impede traffic. So you can kind of just blend in. You know, you're there, you're out there, but you're not in the way, if you know what I mean. When I ride solo, I make sure that I'm never in the way. Now, there are times when you have to take the lane if you're going to turn left, or if it's unsafe for them to attempt to pass. So you got to keep your eye on them and use your hand signals to let them know if there's something they can't see that may be coming the other way. That's what I call riding defensively and offensively. You know, you got to communicate. There's a downhill here. I continue to shift up through the gears to keep my legs turning. You see how Paul is using the wind to slow him down. He moved a little to the left instead of braking. So at this pace, I'm at the bottom of zone 2. If I stay there long, I will get a workout. You know, I mean, it's not, you don't have to be going balls out to get fit. But this will also allow the people who are not in top condition to sit on your wheel and be able to hang in. I'm approaching the top of zone 2 now. But so in the endurance zone, they might be operating higher than they'd like, but at least the pace is steady. It's not that hard, so they can hang on. We end up losing 2 riders as soon as we got into the neighborhood. They just turned back. I think Jonathan and the guy in front of him. It's Jonathan in the red and Mike S5. They both turned back. Neither of them are feeling very great this morning, so they decided to just head back. I'll go ahead and pull off the front after checking, making sure there are no other cars passing us. And I'm not going to go all the way to the back. I'm going to slip in front of Paul. They said get in. I just gave him a thumbs up. Let him know I got it. I went ahead and put on my glasses, but it turned as soon as I put them on, it's like I couldn't see. They were foggy. The Ruka. Not because they were Ruka, it's just the morning we're having. It's steamy. So I put them on. Removing it is not too bad, but still, it wasn't that clear. It took it a little while. I think after a while, I took it off. I ended up putting it back on later. Once you're moving, it's not as bad. I like to have something on my eyes because you got little bugs and other debris. You don't want them getting in your eye. It's uncomfortable. That's Austin behind Paul right there. He ends up coming back after the break with 3 other riders. So the group ends up being 6 riders. 3 of us go further out, 3 come back home. This guy's blowing at the other. There was a car trying to pass. And I'm not sure how he didn't see that guy. This guy here, he was trying to pass, and that guy was coming. That's what that horn was about. You know, it's like just to wait for a second or two. They act like it's impossible to do. I don't understand this rushing around. So even though I'm sitting in the back, I keep my cadence in the 90s to respond to changes in speed. Mike Barrera is pulling, so for the most part, he puts it in a gear and he works that gear. He stays within range, you know, one down or one up for the most part. You know, he doesn't do a lot of surging or whatever. He does a lot of long, strong pulls. I'm probably in a 53.23 or a 53.19, one of those gears, just by the cadence and the speed. Probably a 53.23. That's a 62-inch gear. It's similar to a 39.17. When I'm doing a lot of training days back to back, I make sure that I keep my cadence up. It's easier to recover from, unless I'm doing specific strength workouts. I don't like to overload my legs. The road goes up slightly here. It may or may not register that I said 1%. You feel the grade more than anything. And more often than not, I would downshift. That's probably what I've done, because you can see my cadence is up there. And then once the road level's off, you can kind of shift back up. But this eases the strain that you put not only on your legs, but your back. You know, cycling works the back, the torso, especially your core. You know, if you have a strong core, it's easier to transfer power. But by keeping your cadence in a range that you can handle easily, you don't have to arch your back and strain and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to get off the bike feeling like you got to stretch your back. If you've ever climbed for extended periods, you know you get that little aching in your back if the gearing's not quite right for the gradient. It can happen on moderate gradients too if you don't select the proper ratios.
All right, back.
We're approaching the entrance into the Grand Lake Estates. I stay on that little strip. You got to really pay attention because I'm dodging those reflectors. I don't want to run over them, but it's more comfortable than riding on those ripples. I've never particularly cared to reside in gated communities. It's just not my cup of tea. So we get in, and Mike Barrera and I would start to chat. I'm not sure, I don't remember what we're talking about, but definitely has to do with cycling and maybe the route. Yeah, sounds like we're talking about the route. So I'll just go ahead and go back to the front to keep things going. This is where Jonathan and the other guy.
Good to see you too, man.
Always good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
What's his name? This is where they turned around. Jonathan and Mike S5. They told someone, I'm not aware of it at this point. You will hear us talk about it in a few kilometers. So right here, I'm not sure what he's doing. I just ignored him. So just because people ride bikes often doesn't mean that they have a clue what they're doing. Because if I had to lift the pace, we're already down to only 6 riders. I just tapped my helmet. Paul knew what I meant. They're about probably 50 meters up the road. They don't gain that much. They're further than, they appear further than they are because of the view, the wide view, super wide view of this camera's lens. But I'm not sure what he was doing. The group just lost 2 members. There's only 6 of us. So if we start surging and doing all this stuff, what's that going to accomplish? And he hasn't taken a pull yet. So if you're feeling great, you should come and take a pull. The only reason I went to the front, nobody wanted to. At that point, Mike had just pulled us into the community here. I'm zipping up my jersey. I had it zipped all the way down. It's a very balmy morning. It does not feel like 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels closer to 80. Which is what 21C is 70. So I decided that I'm just going to hold a pace that I know we can do forever pretty much. That's great for the group. So that the train will catch up to you regardless of what you do. They're probably about maybe 200 meters up the road, let's say at this point. They've stopped riding. They're sitting side by side chatting. So I'm not sure what that was about. So I just keep the group pace going and you'll see what develops. See, there's only, let's see, I think that guy's turning around. That might be Mike S5. He's probably already told someone. So there's 6 of us. 6, 7 riders. So Mike Barrera is sitting behind Austin here, and that's Chris behind Mike. At this point, I don't know that we've lost riders. You will hear Mike bring it up when we get to the other gate. When we're waiting for it to open, he will mention that. But I decided to just hold the same effort we're holding on Honea-Egypt Road. Because whatever they were trying to do up there, they've changed their mind. They're not making much progress, and we're reeling them in. I'm not chasing them. I'm just doing exactly what we're doing before. There's nothing wrong with what they did. People have their fun, but I'm not sure what that was about because they didn't do it very long. They're sitting side by side. The power's off up there. We can see them much closer than the camera shows. Now they obviously, whatever it is that they were doing up there, they were not happy about it because one of the riders, as we go by, he would say he's crazy, referring to the guy who went by. I just ignored all of that because they ended up just being in our way because the train here is coming, and so either you hop on or you're gonna get left behind. These speed bumps, they're not that bad. Just breaks up the rhythm a little bit. So we're doing about 26 miles an hour thereabouts, almost 27. It's a slight downhill. So that's Chris now. He was sitting in the back a little while ago. He was behind Mike Barrera. I'm not sure what he's doing either. But as we approach them, he goes to the front and you're going to see him impede us. He's going to be in the way. Because they're not even riding together. So he said he's crazy, referring to this guy on the left. I could have cared less. I just went around them because they were in the way. I guess they were no longer interested in whatever it is they were trying to do. It didn't matter to me. Just keep riding. You can see Paul's shadow. He's standing. I don't know if you get a shot here in the sunlight. Yeah, right there. Paul's behind me. He's standing. In a little bit, I'm going to stand because I don't want to downshift and just keep the gear rolling. The road goes up, I think, to like 3.5% or so. Anywhere from 3 to 5% is where I do a lot of strength work. Heavy gears, low cadence, muscular endurance stuff. It's a good area to do it in. I kept adjusting my jersey because it just felt warm. There were certain spots during the ride where we got some nice breezes, but this early in the morning, it felt extremely warm. I'll be glad when this heat passes. So I'm keeping my cadence a little higher than I normally do on, these kind of rollers. Because it's not that steep. They're like 1 to 3%. So I'm trying to keep it 85-ish to 90. And that way, if I need to accelerate, I don't have to shift. I can spin the same gear faster. So I'm right at sweet spot. In about 100 meters, we're going to be turning right. And the road kind of goes up. A long drag. In a little bit, I'm going to flick my elbows so Paul can come through, and I'm going to tell him to not stay up there. He can kind of roll through. Let somebody else come take the lead. Right there. Okay. But then let's just keep it rolling. Let somebody else come through. And Austin saw me, so Austin just pulls right around. It's similar to how you would do if you were doing like a rotating pace line. But we're not. We're just kind of rolling off the front. So Austin comes through. And you will see gaps. So as soon as I see a huge gap, I just went ahead and jumped on Mike's wheel. The guys who went to the front back there, I guess they don't want to come up here or come through, pull through the line. They're sitting on the back. And that's fine. But I'm not going to be closing large gaps, so I got right back in the line. And this continues for about probably maybe 3/4 of a kilometer. So almost a mile. It's just dragging. This road on the right is dead, and it's called Linda's Place. I shifted up and just stood up to keep the rhythm.
Yeah, we were just learning. It is annihilated them.
I'm continuing to adjust my ventilation. That's the nice thing about having jerseys that allow you to adjust the zippers with just one hand. Sometimes you really can't do that, so you have to sit up, zip up, especially when it goes way down. Sometimes it gets a little more challenging to pull back up. Depends on the brand of the zipper. It varies. We're approaching the rear exit of this neighborhood, and usually if the gate is not open, we have one person that climbs over the fence. Not gonna be me. I don't like climbing in cycling shoes, but on this day we had many vehicles coming and going. Mike Barrera made a joke. He said, "Oh, you got a steel bike." I said, "Nope, not enough metal here to activate that thing." We're approaching the gate. I spot a car in my mirror behind us. I'm going to let them know that we've got a car coming, so let's pull to the left so they can get through and activate the gate. Not everybody heard me, just these guys right here. So Mike Barrera and I pulled to the left. Austin was out of earshot. He's standing at the gate, and so we have a car coming from the other way. I think there was one on the other side, but he turned. Yeah, we thought he was coming through.
Guy behind you. Car back.
So now they're seeing the car that's behind. That's why I like having a mirror. I'm aware 360 was going on. So yeah, so this is where we find out that Jonathan and Mike S5 have turned back. And then I wasn't aware that they had told somebody.
He did.
So this is where Paul, I said, did he say something? And Paul said, yeah, he did. I took off the glasses because they're just foggy. When you stop, they're fogging up on this morning.
Mike S5 looks like he's losing a lot of weight. You notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike S5 looks very thin. I don't know why he's losing so much weight.
Jonathan went
Yeah.
Jonathan is not well.
Yeah.
Straight. Let's take over Keenan-Cut-off.
So we're going towards Keenan-Cut-off Road. We've left the Grand Lake Estates. And this road takes us there. It's nice when you come through here. It's up and down. This is probably like 5% right here, this little bump.
Yep.
You get a good workout here. Put it in the right gear, you can work your legs. I mean, every ride is a little time when everybody kind of a little hiatus and whatever. You can drink, eat, do whatever, but you got to be alert because the speed can pick up any time. They can start riding, and right now someone has started to ride up there. So you always got to be paying attention because you may have to close a gap if somebody else can't. If you want to stay with the riders in the group. So I'm still watching to see when, you know, because you don't have to say anything. Once it gets fast enough, people will line up in a single line. Unless you have a big enough group to where you guys are doing a double pace line. But on these kind of roads, I don't like to take up the whole lane for much. We don't have a lot of traffic right now, but somebody's going faster up there, so the speeds are picking up. Almost 24 miles an hour. So I'm in a 53.19. I just sit in. So knowing that we're headed to Springbranch, and I've already been pulling early in the ride, I use this section to kind of just sit in and take a little bit of a break. Get my glasses back on. I don't like to ride without glasses, especially going fast, because you get these little bugs, they get in your eye, they can burn. Or even debris. Those glasses protect your eyes. See how I held onto my bottle until it slipped in the cage. You want to make sure your bottle is securely in the cage before you let it go, so you don't drop it in the pack. You can cause problems. Looks like Mike was pulling and now he's pulled off the front. I just leave it in a large gear here. I want to kind of work my legs more. It's not a very long bump. So we get here, We already discussed the route, and I said left turn. They act like they don't know where we're going.
Left turn. Hard left.
These guys don't listen when you're discussing the route.
Springbranch.
So I just kept quiet.
Left, right, left, over to Dobbin to that store.
Because in the parking lot we said we're going to go through Springbranch. There's only one way to get there from this direction, so I'm not sure why he was asking where we're turning. This is Keenan-Cut-off Road. I like this road. It's good for resistance training. Has some nice rollers. Maybe 3.5–4% as steep as, but they come thick and fast. And you have some nice downhills as you approach 149. So you get a good workout out here. They're bike-friendly routes. When you're following the wheels, always try to look around the rider in front of you or riders in front of you. Kind of see what's coming. That's the terrain. Is it going to go up? Is it going down? Try to avoid riding blind to where all you're looking at is that wheel. Look around. If you're not able to do that, maybe the group's just too fast for you. That's understandable. But then maybe that's the time you let them go, because you need to have your wits about you when you're riding in the pace line. Road goes up here. Not by much. It's a slight grade here. It's not flat, because you can feel it. I let my cadence drop a little bit because in a short while we're going to be going downhill, and it just felt good. So you got to pay attention to how you feel. Don't feel like you need to be spinning a very high cadence all the time. Even when your cadence is, say, like 80, 81, you should still be efficient. I'm pulling on the bars because the road's going up and I don't want to downshift. I want to ride the same gear. This is where it starts to go downhill. A lot of times you have to soft pedal a bit until other people start moving. When you're in the draft, you get sucked along. Good shot here. terrain it's much easier here. I think until we hit Keenan-Cut-off, you get a slight grade, maybe 1%, but then it's mostly flat to slightly downhill. So the speeds go up. So it's good to sit in the pace line around 90 or so, because if somebody changes the pace, you won't have to immediately shift up. You can just rev that gear before you need to increase it. So by keeping your cadence up, you can respond to those changes and variations in speed without putting too much strain on yourself. I'm soft pedaling here, but the speeds have gone up and I'm in the same gear, so I'm probably pedaling at 100 RPM. Yep, there we go, 105. Because I'm staying in like a 19 and a 17 with the 53. I stay way up in the cluster when other people are going further down, especially in the group. I want to make sure I'm on top of that gear. This is what will enable you to last in a long, hard ride or race or whatever it is you're into. You need to find the smallest possible gear to do that effort. It's harder on your aerobic system, so you do have to train that way. Prepare yourself. We're approaching 149, Highway 149. We're going to turn right, which is north. We're headed west right now. Look at the sky. It's pretty. We have beautiful days in the summer. It just gets too hot in the middle of the day. So you got to get out early or go after 6 in the evening. It's clear. This is a pretty busy highway. Most of the time we'll ride the little shoulder, but nothing's behind us right now, so I just stay on the road for a bit. Because there's a lot of little pieces of debris that I see, and I stay here for just a bit, and I'm gonna get on there. As soon as I get on there, there's a garbage can in the way, so I gotta come back on the road because somebody set out their garbage can right on the shoulder as opposed to on the driveway edge. You see how I just used I used my hips to move over those are little ripples or ridges, and you don't want to ride them. That's the garbage can there, so I got to get back. But you don't want to ride on that. You can see the little blips. They're not fun. They're not that bad, but I just get over them quickly. There's the garbage can. I'm not sure what he's blowing at. Maybe his father willed him this road. People like to show their ignorance. Not much you can do. As Forrest Gump says, stupid is as stupid does. Certain things you can't teach. So in a little bit, it's a little concerning because people will say car back. Chris just sits out in the road. And we wanted the cars to go by so we can turn left. And there was a string of them coming. And then it happens that one of them was actually turning left. But because of his position, it was like he was in the wrong spot. And, you know, I was just like, so this is where they start letting us know cars are coming. I can already see them with my mirror. So there's a string of cars coming. So you want to stay here so they can go by. Then we can take the lane to turn. Well, he gets out on the road and there are cars still coming. You see? That's one car back. Car back. He just ignores it. And he can hear them. They're not that far. So I'm wondering, why are you sitting out there? This guy happens to be turning left too. So you're in the way because we're not at the turn yet. I wouldn't be out there. These people fly on this road. They just happen to slow because this guy is turning. They're staying out there.
One more.
So I just stopped. You see, I let Paul know I'm stopping on clip. We can wait. I'm not late for anything. So there's a truck over there. I think he's turning probably north, probably turning left.
Yeah,
So it's clear. So now we can go.
Thank you, man.
So Mike's thanking his driver for not turning, and he waited for us to turn. But the thing is that you're riding with your mates and they say car back, and you just ignore it. It might cost you some injury or worse. I mean, the reason they're saying car back, there's a reason. You can't just sit there and ignore it. So I don't ride like that. It's just when your mates say car back, at least look. Check it out if you're gonna be out there. You know, make sure you know what's going on. So we turn, we wait for everybody to kind of get going. This road is slightly downhill. It's gonna level off now. And now I'm gonna get, I think I'm gonna get up on Mike's wheel here. And we're gonna go up and pass Austin. So if you notice in this ride, and probably in your rides, there are a lot of riders who may or may not take a pull, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. I've said it before. It's okay. If you feel like you can handle the pace, you should help your group move along. You should go ahead and take your cuts. If it's too fast for you, fine. You want to sit in, that's okay. But don't be the guy who sits in 100% of the ride and then wants to sprint for city limit signs or whatever. No one misses that. So just keep that in mind. If you're strong enough to be able to participate in the sprints, then you definitely should be taking your pulls. Because no one, if you're a competitor, no one will tow you to the line unless they're your teammate. And nobody's going to be happy about you sitting on a bunch the whole group ride and then want to sprint around them. What's the point of that? You want to get strong, you got to get your nose in the wind. Plus, depending on the makeup of your group, resist the urge to be constantly changing the pace, because you may not find anybody to ride with. If you keep changing the pace, nobody will pull. They'll leave you up there. You pull. You saw what happened back there earlier in the film in the neighborhood. They came around, we ignored them, and then they sat up. And it's like, okay, if you wanted to go, keep going. Because we're doing what we don't do. We're not going to slow down. We're going to keep doing. Because all that yo-yo and sit up, they do that often. You go off the front, sit up, look around. What's the point? Just hold a steady pace and then raise it from there if you must. And then when you slow down, slow back down to the group pace. What's the point of speeding up and then stopping? It's inefficient. This is a fast section on this road. We're doing about 25 miles an hour. Mike Barrera rides a 1X drivetrain. So he's got I talked to him about it. He said he's got a 48 on the front, and he's got like a 1030 something in the back. So he's got a straight block, probably from 10 through 16 or something like that. So 12 speed. I just noticed on this ride that he had a 1X on that factor frame. For the road and the kind of riding I do, I prefer to have 2 chain rings. I use a 3953. I had put a 3652 on my orange bike. I switched it back to a 3953 because I wasn't using the 36 much around here. I had put it in there because we used to go to Chapel Hill a long time ago, and it got much steeper grades out there. But with my current fitness, I don't need a 36. I can ride the 39. For what we have in the area here, I don't even have to strain too much. So. depending on where you live and your level, you choose whatever combination you need. So we're doing about 26, 27. It's slowing down a little bit. We're approaching the base of the climb. And what's going to happen is we're just going to keep holding the pace we're holding. Similar to what happened in the neighborhood earlier, you will see two riders. Well, actually, it's Robert who comes on the left, and then says something to Austin. I don't know what Austin was doing, but we just didn't pay them any mind because we knew that the pace we were holding was sustainable, and we just kept riding. And you will see them slide back. The road goes up, people get excited, and they don't know what level they want to keep the effort at. I keep downshifting here. I'm in my small chainring already. I'm probably riding a 17 or a 16.
Damn, Austin.
That's why I don't know what he was talking about. But Austin's on the right. He's way on the left. I'm not sure what that's Austin over there. We haven't reached the steepest pitch yet. So right about here, it's going to kick up a little bit. Or have we? Let's see. It's going down. Yeah, we don't back off. So whatever they were doing, they couldn't sustain it. We just kept riding. So they went right back where they came from. So when the hills come, depending on how long your ride is, unless it's a little sprint hill or what we call sprinter's bump, put it in a ratio you can maintain. Because to just go up front for 2 seconds and then sit up or you can't hold it, that's a waste of time. My extending, I don't know what, I'm probably riding a 39.16 or something like that. And after we turn here, I think I'll go back to the big chainring and put it in like a 53.23. And all I do is I shift up and go down 2 in the back. I'm not thinking about what ratios they're in. I just know based on my cassette combination back there, I know that when I go up and I go 2 in the back on the same grade, my cadence will be in the same range. Then I can make decisions from that point. So for me, I'm at the bottom of zone 4. I'm sitting very close to Michael because I was expecting him to pull off, but he didn't. So since he was doing fine, I just sat there. So I'm very close to him. Probably about 6 inches away from his wheel. He rides very predictably, he's very steady, so he's easy to follow. I'll take a drink here. If you notice, I grabbed my bottles for a few seconds, put it in and held it before I let it go. You gotta make sure your bottle has gotten in the cage, and you gotta make sure you got a good grip on the bottle before you take it out. When you're in the pace line, that's your responsibility. You can't be dropping bottles in front of other riders. You can cause a wreck. So you grab the bottle, make sure you get a good grip, then slide it out, take a drink. There's no rush. And then you put it back and let it feel it slot into your cage before you let it go. Because sometimes it doesn't quite get in there. That's how people drop bottles. And then sometimes the bottle's slippery because you have condensation if you have ice in there. So all of those little details matter. See how effective that was? I just put my arm out. He knew behind me what to avoid. Just avoid that. You don't even have to see what's there. Just know something's there. As Michael stands, I downshift. The road is going up. He's standing in a larger gear. I downshift, so I stay on top of my gear. You've got to find the rhythm that works for you. There's no particular cadence anybody can give you. Everybody's unique. And depending on what's going on with you at that moment, you may prefer 75 or 85, or you may prefer 100 or whatever. It's going to vary. You got to listen to your body. So a second ago, I was pushing 85. Right here, no 100 now. It's on the flat road. I'm at 100. And I'm soft pedaling because I'm trying to stay really close. I had expected him to pull off by now, so I was making sure that I did not expend unnecessary energy so that when he pulled off, I would be able to maintain what he's been doing without having to expend extra energy. The road goes up again. He stands once again. I downshift to keep my rhythm the same as the grade kicks in. And I only downshift when necessary. You know, it's just a 2% grade, so I went down 1 cock. That's it. That was Michael's bike you heard when he shifted. He's got one of these electronic shifting systems. In a little bit, we'll come across a rider out here riding solo. One guy we used to ride with him was Paul Meyer. Look at the gap between James and Austin. That's not very efficient. You need to be much closer than that. Get on the wheel. You don't find out you're being inefficient until they twist the screw at the front and you realize, oops, you're running on empty. So all that energy you've been wasting catching wind, you could have used to close the gap or ride up there. I love this road. It's always like this. 7 days a week. Doesn't matter when you come out here. You get a car now and then. Listen to the birds. Because I keep my cadence up, it's easy to respond to Michael's shifting to a bigger gear and standing. Because when you shift to a bigger gear and stand, you sometimes can increase the speed depending on the grade, you know. But he's doing that because that's the rhythm he wants. And then sometimes when the road's going up and you stand, if the guy behind you does not downshift, he struggles. That's Paul Meyer. He used to ride with us.
Hey, Paul.
We greet him. Back in the day, we had several Pauls. Paul Ilonga, Paul Meyer, Paul H. That's what I was talking about. So Mike is in a large gear and he's out of the saddle and he's standing and he's keeping that rolling. And I just sit there twiddling whatever I have. You know, a little bit, I think he was flick his elbow. I didn't expect him to pull off here because we're almost at the end of this road. I thought he was just going to finish it out, but I'm sure he's got his reason. Right there, he checks and he pulls off. I go ahead and roll through. He had pulled from the time we turned on Springbranch Road. That's a long pull. Probably about 10 kilometers or something like that. I'm keeping the effort the same. The road's gonna go up. Sometimes it's hard to gauge. So I just stand, keep the gear going. The air temperature really affects how you feel. It just, I didn't think we were going this fast, but everything felt slow during the ride. Felt like you were riding through soupy air. I point to the right because we're supposed to go to 149 behind the school. Then he says left. So at this point, he had mentioned on the clips I saw it, but when we're on the ride, I didn't hear it. There's a store out there in Dobbins. This is the Tri-Lakes area, this community is called. So Paul's going to give me the camera as he goes by. I don't think he knew I was still filming. I think usually we turn it off at this point until we can switch the battery if we're going to do more. So he pulls through. I drift to the back and settle the camera. And right here, there's a gap to those same two guys, James and Robert, that had gone off the front. They're back there again. So I just ride up to the back of that wheel. And this little bump, when we turned left, I didn't realize it got up to like 6% or something like that. But in a few kilometers, we come across a deer in the yard, and he's fenced in, and he races us. And so Mike is waving at the deer because, Michael is from California, San Diego, and he grew up on the beach. They don't have deer on the beach, like he likes the forest and the trees and all that. So it was kind of cool. So I filmed the deer racing us. The deer held 20 miles an hour for at least a kilometer and a half.
Oh, yeah.
This is where I was talking about. It gets up to like 5 or 6%. We come through here a lot, but I never realized it didn't seem to be that much of a grade. It's short. So usually when we come this way, we have options. We can turn right and go to 105 and go to Taco Corner, but these guys are going to a Shell station in Dobbins. And that's what this was about. Had we known, we would have probably just parted ways back there and gone east. Because we're going out of our way here for where we want to go. We want to go northeast. They're going west. We end up going over a crappy wooden bridge. You'll see it at the end of the film. I hate that bridge. It's got like little rivets that hold the wood. They look like they screwed the wood into the ground. So you got little nuts in the wood sticking up. The whole thing feels like you're on this washboard and it's shaking everything loose. It shakes your whole bike, So when I go through here solo, I slow way down when I get to that bridge because it feels like you're riding over, the washboard you'd use to wash your clothes, but it only worse because they've got little bolts sticking out through the wood that you use to rivet them down in there, screw them down. They need to replace that bridge with some pavement or something. They've been doing it around this area. They did it on Mount Moriah. So right about here, I think, we spot the deer. I'm going to put an arrow there, I think. It's a here or after we turn. I think it's after the right turn. All these fences look the same. But a deer races us inside the fence like it's hurting us. It's kind of unique because usually we're very wary of the deer because they run across the road. They're very skittish. I think it's here. Yeah, right here. Let's see Michael waving. There's the deer in there. There's the deer. He starts to race Paulie longer. Paul is pulling. The deer's like, look, I'm faster than you guys. And that's what the dogs do too. But to see a deer do it, that was unusual. There he is. So I turned the camera to the side to film him. Look at him. He's doing 20 miles an hour. That's what somebody said, he's racing us. He's inside this yard. And I don't know if he lives there or just happened to be in there, but we don't have to worry about him coming across the road because it's completely fenced all the way. You see Chris looking at him. So he's still racing us. I mean, I didn't turn the camera back on him. I think at this point he's probably turned the other way. So this road goes to Dobbins, which is another city in the area. I mean, it's a small town. But before you get there, they've got one of the longest standing wooden bridges we've had in the area. And it's a bit worse for wear. It's long in the tooth. I mean, the gap to the road, even in a car, you'd feel it if you didn't slow down because the bridge is not level with the road as you approach it. And we're approaching it at 30 miles an hour. So you got to slow way down. So this is the descent towards that bridge. They just recently paved this stretch. It used to be real sketchy. And so we're doing almost 30 miles an hour, and the bridge is in the distance over there. And it's just got wood across that are bolted down to whatever it's attached to, and it just shakes you up. So we know to slow down because as you approach the lip of the bridge, sits higher than the road, right there. So when you hit it, you see that?
This is a crappy road.
All right, keep those doctors fired and keep getting your K's in.